Iowa Sports Review is brought to you today by Daniel Marks, licensed sales representative with United Healthcare. Turning 65? Welcome to Medicare. Call Daniel at 515-519-0040, TTY 711.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Happy Wednesday night, everybody. My name is Adam Jacobi of GoIowaAwesome.com. This is the Iowa Sports Review. This is our weekly sports call-in show, chat-in show, whatever you want to call it. We legally can't call it a sound-off, but that's what it is. And we've got ourselves quite a game this week. It is number 3 Iowa hosting number 4 Penn State. Almost certainly the biggest game at Kinnick Stadium in the last 35 plus years. Suffice it to say, everyone's excited about this game. So excited that we have two members of the Go Iowa Awesome writing community here with us. We've got Tom and Nick. Brothers, gentlemen, on a scale of 1 to 10, or really on a scale of 10 to infinity, how excited are you for Saturday afternoon?
It's up there. It's, yeah, I mean, like, just thinking about it all day at work, just thinking about football. It's good. It's just very excited.
Yeah, I can't get anything done. I was there in 15 in Indianapolis. This is at Kinnick, though. I was not around for 04 against Wisconsin. I think that's the only thing that feels like it compares. This is another level. This is just I can't stress how out of nowhere it is too. I just didn't put this together 3 weeks ago, and everything's in front of them, and we'll get into it, but you just look at what else is out there in the Big Ten, and good Lord, this is a big game. This is as big as it gets in the middle, in a week 5 or week 6, whatever it is, for Iowa.
Yeah, absolutely right. And like you said, this is territory that Iowa generally never finds itself in this early in the season, right? Even 2002, 2015, it seemed like those teams were being rewarded for having good records. 2002 was, an awfully strong team. But even in 2000, I think it was 2009, where Iowa started off undefeated until the cowards from Northwestern illegally broke Ricky Stanzi's leg or ankle or whatever. But those were seasons where the pollsters didn't really acknowledge where Iowa was until the middle of November or so, and this is different, because Iowa has played their way into that we'll say second highest echelon, right? Top is Alabama and Georgia. Fine. But Iowa has played its way to the top of that second echelon very early, and thus finds itself in the good graces of the public in a way that we're not used to. I mean, we don't even hear as many of those jokes about, talk to your kids about undefeated Iowa. And there's nothing a sports writer loves more than recycling old jokes. So the fact that we're here in sort of a different spot is, it's pretty close to unprecedented, and it's super exciting. So without further ado, man, we got a lot to talk about. So let's hop on in here. Guancos, I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I usually am not. Take a moment to marvel about how young this Hawkeye team turned out to be. We have another year of this. Man, absolutely right. And what's scary is, if you're going to point to a weakness on this team, it's, probably offensive line. And yeah, It's likely that Tyler Linderbaum is playing his final season in Iowa City, and man, go get paid. Like, go make yourself a multimillionaire just by signing your name on a sheet.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's so much talent on that line that's going to get better and better. And with pretty much everybody else coming back, with a few exceptions on defense, but really not that many. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't feel like a one-off type of season. Guys, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, going into this year, I didn't have the highest expectations for everything just because of how young the line was. I thought maybe 8-9 wins. But I mean, it's been surprising in a very, very good way, just how these young guys have come out and really shown up from week one. There wasn't a quick, easy game to start off the season. It was right into the thick of things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam, just real quick. And that's sort of my thing too, is, they started the year in preseason polls, whatever, I mean, what were they, 18th? But it felt like this was, I will say this, since really the 16-17 recruiting class, it does feel like Iowa's been getting a lot higher caliber of player, or they're doing something differently. It just feels like there's a lot more talent. And maybe that's when I saw Tyler Goodson appear for the first time. And it's like, wow, they have a guy from Georgia that looks like he's playing for Georgia. One of those guys. And so this team was young, but I felt like there was talent. I think the biggest question was, the grand question of all at Iowa is the quarterback. And if he could put it together, and everyone's pretty young outside of Linderbaum, and maybe we can put it together for a couple seasons, but it's a really interesting thing, because when you look at a team like this and what they're doing, it feels like this Iowa team is old. Like, it feels like it's one of those, everyone's a fifth or fourth or fifth year, and they put it all together, and it all came together for them. But man, this team is young. And yeah, maybe you only lose Linderbaum. You're not losing 2 NFL tight ends to the NFL. Or NFL tight ends, to the draft. You're just used, losing the best center in football, but it does feel different. And it really is, as Guanca said, I just marvel at it, because you have to remember this team is not old, like many of the really good Iowa teams were or have been.
Yeah. It's really surprising how well that they take care of the little things, and you don't often see that from a quote developmental program. And the fact that they're able to do this after what was purported to be a program shaking departure of universally considered to be the best strength and conditioning coordinator, the fact that they're doing such a good job of taking care of those little things, that there hasn't been any drop off in coaching quality at all. And if anything, I think a whole lot of those players are just happier to be there than they were before. You can read into that whatever you will, but I can't remember ever seeing a team have this much fun in Iowa City. You'd probably have to go back to the Hayden Fry era for something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think that is what sparks so much optimism. One, you can see how much they're enjoying this season on the field, and in the locker room and all that. And two, as you guys have said, young team. There's so much coming back from this team next year. All right, so just a quick little note for everybody who's watching. One, welcome. Two, this show is all about you guys as well. So hop on into the YouTube link. You should see that on Twitter or what have you. And right there in the chat below, or off to the corner, depending on how you're looking at your YouTube, there is a area to type in your chat. Look at that. Oh, look at that. We've got that scrolling. Look at that multimedia. So that's your space. We'll be taking as many comments from there as we can and discussing them with all of y'all. So the more the merrier. And so, yeah, while you're here, go ahead and hit that like button if you like all of our pretty faces. Go ahead and subscribe. And you don't just do that to make us feel better about ourselves, although it does make us feel better about ourselves. You do that to help YouTube understand that this is a growing, enthusiastic Hawkeye community. And YouTube will be putting us in front of more and more people, the more and more we get that, those sweet clicks. And turn on your notifications. So every time we go live, you're going to see it. Do all those things if you're enjoying us. And if not, I don't know what you enjoy. Go over to a Wisconsin thing if that's your jam. More power to you.
Don't go over there. Don't go over there, no matter what you do.
Oh, it's probably bleak there, isn't it?
Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go over there soon. I gotta see how bleak it is.
Hey guys, remember when Graham Mertz was a 5-star recruit? I hope he's okay. Anyway, so yeah, and as Jacob points out.
Well, you know what, Adam? I'm sorry. You just brought up something, and we were talking about it earlier, but this feels a little different than you talked about how big this game was. And 2015, Iowa didn't have respect up until, Iowa was 27 seconds away from getting to the playoff and winning the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And not that I remember that in my head, but and they still didn't get any respect really until the playoff committee gave them the Rose Bowl bid, I guess, but it was sort of a consolation. And this feels so different. It just feels so different right now. And a lot of that has to do with Ohio State maybe not being what they are. Who knows by December. But it feels like Iowa's getting respect now, which is so crazy. And there was a comment I saw in our little chat there that said if Iowa was unranked and Penn State was number 4, you'd feel like Iowa was going to win this game, like in 08. And it's weird because I don't know if I'm not comfortable, but it's a little uncomfortable being not only favored in a really big game like this against Penn State at Kinnick, but being number 3 in the country. Like it's really screwing with my head a little bit. I'm happy to be here. I never want to leave. But this year feels a lot different than 15. And look, I will not be happy Saturday if they lose, anything like that. But it even feels like they might have a loss allowed to get into a play. Like they're in that sort of position right now, which is crazy. It's just crazy to think about. Yeah. Am I wrong there? Is that?
No, I'm right there with you. It's kind of a scary thought when you think about it, but and I don't know. I think it kind of started last year for me after, when they got on that win streak. It's like there's something about this team that something clicked, something changed where it's, they go into these big games and I don't expect the worst. I'm like, I think this could be good. Like even Iowa State this year, I had a really good feeling about it. Indiana, Maryland, all those games. There's like a confidence, which I don't think I've ever really had before. Even in 15, every game was like, kind of hold on. I don't know. I don't know what's different about this year, but like even going into this Saturday, I feel kind of confident.
Yeah, as a wise man once said, it's the hope that kills you. And I don't think that there's going to be a game at any point this season, in the regular season, in those first 12 games. It's virtually a lock that Iowa is going to be favored going into all of them. And this is a big game. This is a really big game, and Iowa is favored in it. And if anything, if you look at the Sagarin ratings, mathematically, they're predicting that Iowa should be favored by about 7 or 8 points.
Wow.
So already the line is artificially skewed in Penn State's favor pretty substantially. And yet still Iowa's still favored. So it's not like we're leaning on some hope. This isn't some plucky bunch of kids that you really hope they do well. You know, this is like in Swingers. You're the guy. I was a team in the rated R movie where you're really not sure. You know, they're the ones with the claws. So it's exciting to say the least. And also, thank you for the chat from again. I remember you as Shorgio on Twitter, but a long time friend of the site. So always great to see you. And yeah, everybody. Daniel Craig, by the way. James Bond is in the chat.
Wow.
Incredible.
Nothing else going on.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hello from wherever you are on your tour. But yeah, like being favored by 3, love it by 2. Yeah. That, you know, if Iowa just wins by a field goal, all of a sudden that's not a push, that's a win. And while we don't condone gambling, don't ever bet on sports. And I'm not just saying that because kids are watching, but no, it's not the hope that kills you. It's like the money. Don't ever take a financial stake on college sports in particular. Oh, don't do it.
Fair.
Yeah, let all the hope kill you in the world, not the money though. No matter what you do.
But yeah, it really does seem like, if anything, there's the prognosticators, the ones who do this for a living, that they're sort of going away from their mathematical tendencies on that one. And you know, read into that what you will. And again, don't bet on the game. Please don't do it. But it is interesting to see nonetheless. David, welcome back. Good to see you as always. My fellow Marxist. I'm not a Marxist. But so much defense with these teams. Think we might see another 6-4 game. And came into I'm going to try to leave that young lady alone, which makes me better than Urban Meyer.
Jeez.
But yeah,
had to get one of those in there. Yeah.
Yes, he did. No, the 6-4. I was talking with a cousin of mine who's a Penn State alum. We still do get along regardless of that. But you know, talking through how scary both of these defenses are and how good both punters are. Jordan Stout at Penn State is one of the nation's best. He just won the weekly Ray Guy Award, which is an award that Torrey Taylor, our boy, has won as well. So this really could be a punting is winning game, but there's a good chance that we're going to see a lot of turnovers too. And I'm not saying that to disparage Spencer Petras at all, because by and large, he's made some really good decisions this year. But he also has not faced a secondary like Penn State's. I mean, not even close. So, yeah, I mean, guys, what do you think? Are we going to see a turnover filled game or a 3-and-out punt type of game? What do you like? Are you thinking it's going to field position is going to matter more, or for forcing turnovers?
Well, I don't know. Unfortunately, I watched that Wisconsin-Penn State game, which I hope is a little better. This is a little better than that. I mean, let's be real. I mean, 6-4 is like in Hawkeye lore and all that. It's a brutal watch. I mean, that's a brutal game. You know, like, it's beautiful,
especially when you know the ending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a rough watch at ESPN Classic. Yeah. No, I mean, it's wonderful because of the significance behind Kirk's week, and Iowa won that game. That's a horrible game. I really hope we don't have a 6-4 game. Also, a 6-4 game, that's the type of thing that you win this game and you drop to like 6th in the country. You know, so I don't need that either. Yeah, right. Iowa all of a sudden has some respect. I want to keep whatever we have. You know, I've seen quite a bit of Penn State. I watched them last week because Iowa didn't play. And, you know, I don't, like with every Iowa game, I can't go in expecting, because I know from an Iowa standpoint, it's going to become a punting game. If it becomes a punting game, I'm I'm happy, I'm because I think
Mhm.
that's really what Kirk has been doing best and what Iowa's been doing best for the last 5-10 years at least, more than anyone really in the country. And yeah, if they get into a shootout, I'd be very worried, but I don't think it'll get there. And I've
Yeah.
seen, I've actually, I'm not bragging. I've been to every game this season, whether that's a brag or a sickness. And and this defense, I'll tell you, I mean, I haven't seen Penn State's defense in person, but man, this defense is going to create some turnovers. I mean, they make
Mhm.
plays. They just know where the ball's going before I know where it's going, and I can see probably more than them on the. So yeah, I think it'll be. I would expect sort of an Iowa State type of affair. I think Penn State has a lot more punch than Iowa State. Because I think they're a bit better of a team. I think Clifford's been better than Purdy. I think this will be the
Mhm.
best. I will say this: I think he's the best quarterback they're going to see probably this year, and that might even include Ohio State. I thought maybe it could be Tagovailoa, and then he threw 100 interceptions. So yeah, I'm thinking around first to 30 is in good shape. I don't know about you, Nick. Are you looking at 6-4?
Yeah. I think if we see a 6-4 game, that's when you're going to start getting the fake ID of college
Mhm.
football
Yeah.
That's
The
when
Colin
that's
Cowherd. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be it. But I think there'll be some points scored. I think Dotson, I don't know. I think that's gonna be a really good matchup on the outside. And Clifford, I think, he'll be the best quarterback I think we'll face all year. Unless Taylor Martinez or Adrian Martinez. Sorry, living in Lincoln, I get a lot of Adrian Martinez news in my life. But yeah, I do. I think there'll be some points scored, but I don't. It's not going to be a 70-point game by any means.
I hope not.
What if it is? What if it is?
I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I think if it's a
If
70-point,
if Iowa can keep up, I'd like it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing.
yeah. I think if it's a 70-point game, Iowa's defense has so thoroughly broken the sport of football that they had 8 pick sixes.
A lot of defense touchdowns.
Fingers crossed on that one. But yeah, I think the Iowa State comparison is pretty good, especially because, I mean, one, Tagovailoa was one of the nation's best passers before Iowa dragged him to Hades, and which was still just absolutely astonishing to watch. I think Clifford probably won't be baited into so many mistakes.
No.
But, he's never faced a defense that is as tough as this one. And, I worry about Jahan Dotson quite a bit because if it seems like if there's one, I mean, weakness is too strong of a word, but one relative, lesser point of strength, it's whether these guys can win one-on-one matchups individually against really, really talented receivers. And boy, you look at Dotson, and he's the type of guy where you're going to be hard pressed to find a cornerback in the nation who can stop him. So I was really going to have to, get creative with bracketing zones, and Penn State likes to move him around and try to force some matchups that, are not going to be in their favor. Boy, if you thought Justin Jacobs was in for a rude one against Colorado State's tight end, whose name I've already forgotten and will not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't think of him ever again.
Yeah. And so, if that was rough for him, imagine what happens if he suddenly gets slot responsibilities and Penn State's sideline recognizes that ahead of the snap. So there's quite a lot of chess that's going to be happening. It's going to be very interesting to see. Worrisome, yeah. It's hard not to worry. Craig says that he would like to see a Iowa MSU Big Ten championship rematch. Would be fun. I don't think Sparty's got the juice this year, especially against the other big three in the East, but I don't know. They're pretty good. So,
well, there's two ways to think about that. It's like, if they get through the East, am I all of a sudden afraid of them? But also right now, I'd really like to see them in Indianapolis as opposed to some of those other teams. So
Yeah.
it depends. I think, yeah. I mean, if MSU's there, Mel Tucker is the coach of the year. He's the coach of the world. He's the coach of the universe, and maybe we should be afraid. But hey, look, I just want to get back to Indianapolis myself before we get to like Iowa. I wanted to get to Iowa somebody,
right.
It's like let's get there first, because it's still, I mean, you got Penn State, you're at Wisconsin. I think but we know how this works. I mean, I've been here long enough to know how this operates.
Yeah, absolutely. We are also joined by Andrew, and you're going to have, is it Hoke or Hauk?
Hauk.
On your list. Hauk.
Yeah.
Andrew, my man, welcome.
Thank you. Nice
we've got a Go Iowa Awesome 4-way happening right here.
Right.
This is unprecedented. This is the quad box of the NFL Red Zone, but pasty white men talking about football instead. Not a shoulder pad to be seen. But Andrew, so first of all, welcome, and second of all, scale of 1 to 10, and it's okay if you go past 10 because all of us did. How excited are you for Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, very. And I think it's a game that it's kind of like a bonus game, like a win would be great, but we don't absolutely need to have it. That said, I'll be seriously I'll be bummed out if we don't win, and I think we have a really good chance at winning. But yeah, it's great. It's a little bit surreal, for us to be ranked this highly. This early, this early in the season, and so it just, I don't know. I'm still kind of having a hard time believing everything right now, and I don't really. I'm not trying to sound like cynical or anything, or that I don't believe in the team. It's just like 3 is really high in this day and age. There's all these these days. There's these programs that are just superpowers. You like Alabama, now Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma. These teams are just in the playoffs. Clemson, they're seemingly in the playoffs every year, and they're sort of on a different scale from everybody else. So for us to be in this class right now is, it's hard to believe, frankly. I know we've got a talented team here, but it's still hard for me to kind of quite wrap my mind around it. But
sure. One thing that our old friend David has pointed out is Clifford did throw 2 interceptions against the Iowa defense last year, and as I recall, one of them was Davion Nixon's incredible return and Euro step. So Y.A. Black or Van Valkenburg had better be working on their footwork in order to recreate a moment like that. But yeah, I mean, this isn't Iowa's first time seeing Clifford. And 2020 was a weird season, David. You're absolutely right. But it was weird for both teams, right? Yeah. It's not like Iowa has been hit with some sort of kryptonite. Now, Penn State is absolutely playing better this year than they did last year. So whatever was going on in Happy Valley, because they were awful for a stretch.
Yeah.
So
I think that was their last loss, was it not?
Yeah, I think they turned it around after that one. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't lost since.
Yep.
Well, so first of all, Penn State, you're welcome. Second of all, it is at the very least heartening that in the middle of I guess what would have been a turnaround, that Iowa's secondary already has a decent idea of what they're going to see. Now, obviously Penn State's going to change a lot of the game plans and try not to make the same mistakes year over year. And if they do make the same mistakes, James Franklin will be shot into the sun with a catapult. But, prior history is on Iowa's side at the very least. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point to bring up. And Andrew, I don't know. What do you think? How much stock are you putting in the win that Iowa had over Penn State last year?
Not a ton. I'm not that up on Penn State, frankly. Like I know they didn't have that good of a year last year, and so far this year they seem like they're having a very good year. So it seems like, I really don't know what to make. I really don't put that much stock in it, frankly. I mean, I think that they appear to be a vastly better team this season than they were on the whole of last year. And I don't really remember their trajectory last season to know like kind of where they were on that trajectory. Like, were they playing as well last year when we played them as they have been so far this season?
No, not even close.
And I think last year they were going through some coaching changes at the beginning of the year, and with the pandemic and everything, they started off. I mean, it was rough. They were bad. They were very bad for a while.
And doesn't it feel like this pandemic year has sort of become the buzz? Like it's almost like the Pac-12 game clock excuse. Like, oh, it was 2020 and nobody. And really, Iowa has seemed to be the only school outside of like Alabama that really is kind of carried on the 2020 run. I mean, because everyone else, it's like Michigan was a disaster. They're undefeated. Michigan State was a mess. They're undefeated. Like Penn State was awful. Now they're great again. And so, I just think it was, I don't know. Maybe this is more of a testament to Iowa and how they've kind of just kept it humming and really, they didn't lose. I mean, I guess they lost the receivers, but they did get enough back where, were they really utilizing the receivers enough? That's another story. But, I think Iowa brought the pieces back. And Penn State's always had the talent. Watch him whack Iowa this week. I personally have never loved James Franklin as a coach. I think he's a great recruiter. I think in a big situation that could really help Iowa this week. I just don't think he's a big-time coach like that. But, he's won a Big Ten. The results speak for itself. But I just think, last year they were it was a weird year. At the end of the year, they looked a lot better, really, since Iowa beat them. They looked a lot better. But it's been really strange how that's been like the built-in excuse where, it didn't count last year because, I mean, look at Indiana. Indiana was going to win the Big Ten last year. Now they're cratering. And Iowa's just coming along.
In this entire discussion, it's one thing that the last team that Penn State lost to was Iowa. Yeah. The last team that Iowa lost to was Northwestern. And man, I don't know how much of the Nebraska game you guys saw. We had at least 2 people there in person.
I was there.
Oh
God.
And as Pat Vince said, he saw mistakes that would get corrected at the junior high level. Like their fundamentals are all out of whack. And
Northwestern or Nebraska or both?
Well, both. But he was mentioning Northwestern. But but it's if you want to talk about dramatic divergences of performance, the fact that Northwestern just last season actually beat Iowa, it's going to become one of those weird, I don't know, trivia things because Wildcats look like they're reverting back to the 70s and 80s.
And Iowa blew a 3-touchdown lead in that game.
Yes.
Yes. Can't make it
was wild. Oh my goodness. All right. So we are about 35 minutes into this one. So just to get everybody recapped a little bit, this is the Iowa Sports Review. This is YouTube's best and perhaps only Iowa football themed sports chat live sound off, not legally called sound off, show that you can watch. We operate every Wednesday night, and after every game, whether it be Friday night, Saturday night, I think. Do we have any Sundays this year? I don't know. Probably not. Anyway, I am your host, Adam Jacobi of GoIowaAwesome.com. I am joined this week by 3 fellow writers. We've got Nick, we've got Tom, we've got Andrew, all welcome parts of the community. And speaking of community, this is a show for all of you. So head on over to the little chat area that is below the video that you're watching, or maybe it's on the side. It depends on what you do on your desktop. Go ahead and give us your questions. Give us your hot takes. Tell us if a hot dog is a sandwich. The answer is yes. And while you're here, go ahead and click like and click subscribe. Not only does it make us feel better about ourselves, but it helps us grow the community. And the more Hawk fans we get in here, the merrier. The better the chat is, the more fun it is for all of you, and the less you have to hear us ad-lib. So, with that, we've got a question here from Sid. Offense needs to continue to improve and not just Petrus. If the O-line gels, could really be a magical season. Yeah, I would agree on that one. And, I think the last 2 weeks in particular have, one, been a substantial improvement for Petrus, and 2, really, really put to bed any notion that there is any quarterback controversy in Iowa City. When we had now former Iowa beat writer Leah Van, she's now down in Baton Rouge, but when we had her on a few weeks ago, she is somebody who's around the program and knows that there was no oxygen to that rumor whatsoever. It was sort of a fan-led uprising against Petrus, but it's nice to see the on-field performance reflect that disparity in where these guys are standing with their coaches, with their teammates. But yeah, the offensive line does have room for improvement outside of Linderbaum, who is just a mountain of a man. Easily the best center in college football, and soon to become one of the best centers in the NFL. So we're really looking forward to Linderbaum. And that reminds me, we've got a little something else to talk about with Linderbaum as well, something good. But yeah, the rest of the offensive line is one of, in terms of recruiting stars, which I know are not, the end all be all, but these guys came in with a lot of talent, and a lot of them are cracking the two deeps very early on in their career. You see a lot of freshmen and sophomores making their way in there, including Connor Colby, who I believe is a true freshman, and already seeing the field. And you almost never see that in a Kirk Ferentz offensive line. So clearly a lot of potential, and you hope to see them getting better and better week over week. Although, with, going from Maryland's defense to Penn State's defense, little bit of an upgrade. So it might not look linear, but these guys are just getting better and better. And yeah, if they turn into a really cohesive unit, sky's the limit. And, we're already on the precipice of what we would consider a magical season. It's not like we're saying, they could be Penn State and then Michigan and then Ohio State's that next week, but there aren't a whole lot of really scary games left. Now, the offensive line is just rickety enough that I don't think there's a whole lot of easy games left either. Purdue's just scrappy enough. That Nebraska front seven looks pretty legit, and I hate to say it, but there is room for concern up and down the schedule. Even Wisconsin, we don't know how Wisconsin's going to look come Halloween. I know how I'm going to look for Halloween. More on that later. But
yeah.
But go ahead.
I mean, no, I'm sorry. You said Purdue. I think Purdue doesn't look scrappy. David Bell is still on the roster. I think that's the biggest thing there.
It's a terrifying.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
As long as he's still in West Lafayette, I'm not going to be able to sleep. But yeah, you know,
their defense is good too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, it'll be 21. It'll be 21-17. You know, classic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. But you know, you talk about Wisconsin and you talk about Nebraska, and I understand all that. But you know, like, God, I look at Wisconsin and that offense is like MAC level. I mean, when you look at those
miserable,
things, and it's like, yeah, I mean, they're like MAC level. I mean, and if they would they have 7 turnovers at Maryland, 6 or 7? I mean, that might be 10 in Madison. And Nebraska, it's great, but I gotta see, you know, I mean, Northwestern is, as we said, I don't know what happened there. They're a dumpster fire right now. So we'll see. We'll see by the time we get to Thanksgiving. But the weird thing is, again, you know, you mentioned that this team is so young on the offensive line, and I think we lose sight of that. You know, they line up against Indiana week 1, or they line up at Iowa State, and we just expect them to just pound the ball. And because Iowa always just runs, and they just push, and we're going to get this push and stuff. And I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart, and outside of Linderbaum and Schott, everyone else is an underclassman, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, so there is, and I see growth. You could see it a bit against Colorado State and Kent State, but really against Maryland, I thought it was just there was a big improvement. You could see it in the pass pro. I think Petrus in the pocket has shown a better presence. I mean, if just to look at that tape at Iowa State, he was taking bad sacks. He looks a lot better in that respect. And outside of one play against Colorado State, he has been perfect for an Iowa quarterback. Mistake free. Yeah. I mean, he's made the throws he needs to make, and he hasn't made mistakes. And so I look at the rest of the West outside of this Penn State game, and we talk about can they survive a loss, and it's still tricky. Of course, it's always tricky because Iowa, unless I've missed something and maybe we just can't believe this yet. I don't think Iowa's going to out talent anyone. They're not going to walk in and Ohio State, the rest of the East. It's always going to kind of be a crapshoot a little bit. But if this team doesn't finish the regular season, dare I say, this sounds crazy, 11-1, it's going to be a shame. I mean, it really would be a shame. Any loss. And I mean, at Wisconsin's a nightmare, but go beat that team. I mean, they are a mess. You get them in a couple weeks. So I get it. It's always a crapshoot, and Purdue always gives you heartburn. But I mean, come on, you got it all. And this team, I get they're young too, but look, 15 was great. They've already done more than 15. They've won more. They've been more impressive than 2015 ever was. It was impressive to go 12-0, but that schedule was. I mean, the Iowa State team they beat was a Paul Rhodes team. I don't know. I just keep winning. I think that's my big thing, young or not. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that for the 2015 team, their most impressive win on paper was the Wisconsin game, and it was at Wisconsin, and it was a big deal. I was at that game. It was a mess. It was like they just robbed a bank with a banana with the word gun written on it, and it worked. And it should be different this year. Like you said, that's a team that you say, just go out there and beat them. Just beat them. Yeah. We've got a question from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. Iowa wins the Big Ten championship game. Extremely possible. Okay, first of all, we're going to touch the brakes on that one. We'll say it's definitely possible. I don't know about extreme. What happens next? Well, I'll say this because it's not a guarantee that Iowa gets in there at 10-2. Not just yet. For all we know, Iowa could lose to Penn State this Saturday, lose at Wisconsin. I know. But there is a possibility that they lose a 7-2 tiebreaker. So, if that's the case, that would be lousy. But so let's say that in this scenario, they're at least 11-1. And you look around the rest of college football and where, the powerhouses are going to come from. It's not the Pac-12, not this year. The closest you've got is Oregon, and yikes. It's not the ACC. Sorry to Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, no respect. No respect.
You're almost certainly going to have Alabama and Georgia in there. I think Oklahoma is going to work their way into the conversation, but I'm not convinced that Rattler is your 12-0 kind of guy. And if it's Iowa at 11-1 and then 12-1 and Oklahoma with that same record, I'll take Iowa's wins over Oklahoma's.
Yeah.
Easily.
Particularly since you may well be talking about a win, against probably Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
In the scenario that we're discussing here, that's probably coming with a win against, because I think Ohio State's going to win the East.
See, I think so too.
They're my East pick for the champ until they actually go through a year and don't.
Yeah, that's safe. That's a safe bet.
If we have a win against them, or I guess whoever wins the East, whoever wins the East, it's going to be a really good win.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think we'll have a better resume than if we're on one loss. I think we'll have a better resume than a one-loss Oklahoma team.
Yeah,
does a Cincinnati though?
I think Cincinnati they've got
wild card.
Yeah, played some people. I don't know whether they've got anybody else who's good on that schedule, but like that, they wanted Notre Dame. That was at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah. And pretty substantially. It didn't look like an upset.
No.
It looked like they beat them 6 or 7 times out of 10. Yeah. So I was really impressed by that. But still, the CFP committee sees a group of 5 team. It's going to be tough to see Cincinnati crack that group once it's all said and done. And you're going to be able to point to Power 5 teams with a ton, well, maybe not a ton, but just winning at Notre Dame is impressive. But, compared to beating, Iowa State, I guess Indiana was ranked at the time, but the shine's going to come off that. And also Iowa beat Indiana by more than Cincinnati did. Yeah. There's going to be a win over the East champion. There's going to be wins over, I guess, Nebraska and Wisconsin, if, however much that matters. And I think there's just going to be more interest in the bigger teams. At the end of the day, the college football playoff exists to make money. It's not, they can say the best 4 teams all they want. No. They would love the controversy of leaving Cincinnati off and drawing those eyeballs to, I don't know they'd be in the Sugar Bowl or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Play at the kids' table with BYU. They would love to do that, and then also draw eyeballs to the Big 4, the big boys. So not really worried about Cincinnati yet. As a football fan, I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think it's fair to be cynical about the interests of that group until proven otherwise. Let's see. This the real Hayden, who again, longtime friend of the site. Good to see you, friend. I'm not sure you are the real Hayden for a lot of reasons. But nonetheless,
that would be impressive if he is. Yeah.
Impressive, yes, that's one word for it. Yeah, frightening. Comes down to whether 2020 or 2021 Clifford shows up. D will capitalize on any mistake he makes. Totally agree with that. If there's one thing that this team has shown, it's that these interceptions aren't flukes. These are almost universally defense-created picks. There was one that was just a bounce off of a receiver's hands, that hit him in the chest. And I guess that should have been a catch. But oops, it was a touchdown for us instead. Oh, you hate to see it. But by and large, these are turnovers that the defense is creating by being in the right place at the right time and on some pretty good throws most of the time. I mean, that poor Hail Mary that Tagovailoa threw, the Fail Mary. That was sad. That was a guy who was giving up on his game right at the halftime whistle. But by and large, it's the result of good defense. The really iffy turnovers are fumbles, and on that, Iowa's only +1 on the season. They've recovered 4. They've lost 3 of their own.
Yeah.
So the fumbles are your rolls of the dice. Your whichever way the ball bounces. Interceptions are absolutely a matter of coaching, skill, play calling, and Iowa's got all those. So, do I expect Iowa to keep up its pace of intercepting 1 out of every 14 passes, which is where they are this season? It's about 7% of all.
That's crazy.
It is bonkers. It's about 3 times the national average.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm not sure that's going to keep up. I would love it if we did.
Yeah, decent quarterbacks we've been playing against too. It's not like we've had Purdy. He's pretty good quarterback.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, and then Tagovailoa before we his life last week.
Came into the nation as one of the best. Yeah. Michael Penix Jr. I mean, we understand that he's coming off an injury and he's really not where he used to be as a thrower
anymore.
Yeah.
But boy, they keep benching quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. And it's clearly not a matter of luck at this point. You can't watch these games and say Iowa's just how does this keep happening? You can see how it keeps happening. They're good at defense, and they flow to where the ball's going to be. The pick that they had off the deflection by Campbell, naturally, in that Maryland game was just a thing of beauty. Both players going to exactly where they needed to be, filling that passing lane. And that was really a good looking throw up until Campbell put a paw on it. So, boy, I really can't say enough about what these guys are doing. Now,
correct me if I'm wrong. Did Clifford come in the 18 game that they lost in Happy Valley for McSorley? Was he the backup in that game? I thought he was. They knocked McSorley out for a minute. Regardless,
was it Will Levis or Levi's or something?
Was it Levis?
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say it was
blocked that game from my memory. Yeah, I had surgery actually. They went in and what game? I was like, I don't care how many games you take away, just get that game out of there.
Right. It's widely regarded as the last good lobotomy ever performed.
To bring that up, yeah. But I mean, there is significant amount of tape that Iowa has with Sean Clifford. I mean, he came in here 2 years ago. They played him last year. He doesn't, because I saw a comment there that Penn State's offense is going to blow the top off our defense, and famous last words. Maybe they do, but it's like we're 6 weeks into the season now. This is an elite secondary, if nothing else. I mean, it really is. This is no fluke, like you said. And so I guess maybe, Indiana, all right, a couple deflections here. And then Iowa State, who has a really good running back and maybe the nation's best running back and a really good fifth-year quarterback. They shut him down. And then Talia came in with 1 interception. He left with 7 or whatever it was. I mean, so I guess I'm just not that worried. Yes, Penn State has the talent on the outside. Anyone you see outside of the teams in the West is probably going to have a lot of talent on the outside. I just think right now, until otherwise, I just kind of blindly trust Phil Parker's defensive secondary and really that first level too, to get those active hands up. And because you made a good point. I mean, the Iowa State game and Maryland, those 2 interceptions come off the top of my head off deflections, off of, look like pretty good throws, deflected, picked off by the secondary.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of blindly trust that until I see a quarterback dice him up. And I've seen Clifford. We've seen Clifford against Iowa several times, and he's a good quarterback, but he's not. This isn't even like Connor Cook 2015. Nothing like that. He's good. He's not great, I think.
Yeah. I think the same thing was being said about Indiana and what was his name? Their receiver,
Freifogel.
Yeah, Freifogel. Yeah, and then I trust the defense enough. I trust Phil Parker that I'm not super worried about that.
Yeah.
Little known fact: Ty Freifogel. His friends call him Tyfogel. That's not true. Let's see. The Penn State run game has been substandard at best, but we've also seen Penn State, especially in recent years, be able to sustain drives with those third down, just hand it to Noah Cain, let him bully his way forward and sustain some really backbreaking drives against the Iowa defense. Do you think this year is going to be different? Do you think, and again, their run blocking game has been substandard so far, but we also have enough film that says that their run game is particularly dangerous for Iowa in particular. What's your level of confidence for Iowa being able to shut that down?
All right, Maryland abandoned the run game, I think, after 2 plays last week. I swear they didn't run the ball after that, like the first 3 plays of that first drive when they scored. Iowa played, again, Iowa is a pretty good guy that they've played against already in Breece. Was it Breece Hall? Yeah. And he was having, I remember saying that's the greatest 4-yard run I've ever seen because he made 17 guys miss. But he's that good, but Iowa's defense contained him. So I can't, again, I just haven't seen anyone really chew them up on the ground right now. And especially Penn State's running game. I was looking at the stats last week. Noah Cain averaged 2 yards a carry against Indiana's defense, which shut down Iowa's rushing game outside of one big run. But I think Iowa's defense, run defense, is better than Indiana's. And let's put it this way: if Penn State's running well against Iowa, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be good for Iowa. I just think you know what I mean. Like I think if they can't stop that, then they're just going to be susceptible to the play fakes, and that's when the lid will come off. I just, again, it's the defense has shown the ability to shut everyone they've played down, just down. And so I'm not going into this concerned about that right now. And maybe for the rest of the year, if they get through this game, I don't see anyone up until once you get to the athletes with Ohio State that I would be really worried about against this defense. They've been that good.
Mm-hmm. Have we faced a quarterback running game so far?
Colorado State,
yeah.
Which saying anything that Colorado State was doing was legit is really pushing the envelope. But you bring up a good point, which is that when quarterbacks start, when they're able to improvise, when they're able to, get off schedule, get out of the pocket, and start forcing the defenders to make really quick decisions. That was a little bit of a problem for Iowa's defense against CSU. Now, granted, the Rams didn't have a ton of talent to really punish Iowa for that, and the the young man, the quarterback, his name I've already forgotten, like Ciento or something like that.
It says
Centeo, that's right. I was close. He's a different type of quarterback than Clifford is, right? Yeah. So it's not like we're going to see the same real stress that is going to be put on the edges that Centeo did. Yeah. But we have seen Clifford make good decisions stepping up in the pocket, especially with the amount of time that his offensive line was giving him against, say, Auburn. And it's really surprising to see such a disparity between the Penn State pass blocking ability and run blocking ability. You would think that there's a little bit more continuity there, but so far not so much. So I'm very, very interested to see how well Iowa collapses the pocket, because this defense is scary. This defense punishes mistakes, but I'm not sure there's any defense in the nation that can play good pass defense for 6 seconds. Looking forward to seeing point. That. But that being said, this game could be the star-making turn for Zach Van Valkenburg. I mean, we already know he's good, but I'm not sure the nation knows yet. Yeah, they might be about to find out.
The defensive line has probably been the single brightest surprise for me with this whole team. Mm-hmm. I would say I wasn't really I looked at the defensive line depth chart coming into the year, and I was just like, geez, where are we going to get the production? And it's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was iffy. Good. Yeah. I think we're going to do a good job on that front, Adam.
The interceptions and the benching of quarterbacks, that's what everyone talks about. But I think the rush defense has been just fine this year. They're good. I think they're top 10 in yards against or yards per carry. So I think we're going to do just fine on Saturday. I'm not too concerned about that one.
Good. All right.
The most, I'm sorry, just to add this, the most vulnerable they've looked all year was that end of the first half drive against Iowa State. That was the worst this defense has looked all year. I actually thought Iowa State should have kept doing that in the second half.
And so Iowa was also playing 3 or 4 deep. Right?
That's true.
Running against a prevent.
Maybe Maryland was going a lot of no huddle and it wasn't working anyways. But that kept sticking in my head, in that maybe that's how you beat this defense. And I don't know if Penn State, running game wise, I'm not worried. But go ahead. That's all I need to ask or add. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of running games, segue. One thing that I want to point out that just started happening on Twitter a couple days ago. Tyler Linderbaum, who I mentioned earlier, is doing a fundraiser where you donate a certain amount of money and get a package in return, but 100% of the proceeds go to the Stead Children's Hospital. And so the design is pretty cool. And if you go to Bomb Squad, BAUM squad65.com, his online store is right there. And again, all the proceeds go to the Children's Hospital, which we love to see. And the logo says "Protect the Kids," and it's got the wave happening on it. So later on, when that is delivered, I will be rocking that on stream, and we're going to get a link to all of that in the description in the coming weeks. But just wanted to give a little plug to yet another cool charity thing that our Hawkeyes are doing. I think it has been arguably the best part of the NIL expansion in the NCAA this year, and to see our Hawkeyes using that, and don't get me wrong, I have no problem with them actually making money off of it themselves too, but to see the ones that are not in want of money to use their platforms, and especially players as good as Torrey Taylor and Tyler Linderbaum, two of the best in the nation at their position, and at a school that really uses them quite visibly. to see them use that platform to benefit people who could use it the most, really, really brings a lot of joy to me. So, fellow Hawk fans, if you do have the money, go ahead and head over to, again, BAUM, B-A-U-M, squad65.com. The shirts and hoodies are there. I'm really looking forward to the hoodie. I know it's been an awfully warm October, but hoodie weather is coming sooner than you think. So if you're going to rock one, you might as well rock one that puts some money in the hands of the Children's Hospital. So, let's make sure that our support just doesn't stop at the wave. So that's my little plug. And hopefully we see more and more of these charitable ventures coming from our best and brightest student athletes. Awkward segue back into football. This is one more little recap reset for everybody. This is the Iowa Sports Review. My name is Adam Jacobi of GoIowaAwesome.com, and I am joined by 3 fellow writers this week. We've got Tom, we've got Nick, we've got Andrew. Wave hello, gentlemen. And this is a chat show. It is the modern internet equivalent of the Sports Call-In show. So all of your takes, all of your thoughts, head on over to the chat area off to the side of your YouTube page. And while you're here, go ahead and click like, go ahead and click subscribe, and be part of this community, because it is so much fun sharing it with all of you. And boy, what a game we have coming up. Number 3 Iowa hosting number 4 Penn State. College, or the Fox Sports Big Noon Saturday with Bob Stoops coming to the Pentecrest. Are any of you, well, I mean, I don't know how many of you are even in the state of Iowa. Andrew, I don't think you are.
I'm in San Diego,
but if you're in the state of Iowa, if you're close to Iowa City, are any of you thinking about joining the crowd at the Pentecrest this Saturday morning?
Well, I'm in Des Moines, but I go to every game. But no, it's just, you don't have to get there you have to get there at 3 a.m., don't you, or something? It's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I do think game day really blew it, because I thought they should have had Stoops as the guest picker. Swiped him from Fox.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been an incredible move of power. But no, I mean, look, anything, game day hasn't been there in, it seems like 100 years now. I think 06 was the last time.
Yep.
And it's, I think the Pentecrest, Fox is doing it better than game day. I think the Pentecrest is the place to do it instead of outside of Kinnick. I think it's cooler over there. So it should be very exciting. I've never, Adam, were you there in 06? I've never been to a game day situation. It's just always too early for me to get there.
Yeah, it was too early for me too, especially with the way that I got down on Friday nights way back when, long time ago, long time ago. But no, I was never the type of guy that wanted to get up super early. I wasn't much of a tailgater, because there were so many games, especially at that point of Iowa's trajectory under Kirk Ferentz. There were so many 11 o'clock kickoff games that everyone would be like, yeah, we're getting up at 5:30. Do you want to do that? And my answer was universally no. I actually don't want to get up that early. I don't know if you guys have heard of sleep, but it's amazing. So no, and even if even if I weren't living, I'm also in Des Moines. So even if I weren't 2 hours away, yeah, it would be a lot to ask to get me there. But I support all that do, and I think Fox is probably going to have one of their best ever noon kickoff shows, just by being able to bring Stoops into Iowa City. And gosh, what do you guys think about how Iowa forward Stoops has been in this role as a Fox, I guess, studio guy, or pundit, because he's been very, very vocally pro Hawks. What do you guys think of that?
It's interesting. That's about all I can say about it. Did
you read anything into it, Nick?
I don't know. I think, there's always been the rumors about his brother, who's doing very well down in Kentucky. When Kirk was on the hot seat, there was the Stoops rumors and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, I don't read too much into it.
Okay.
I mean, he's 61. Kirk is 66. If nothing else, it's good to have somebody in the national media pimping Iowa.
Absolutely.
That doesn't hurt. So dare to dream. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great to have his support. He's a big deal in the college football world. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to be our coach.
I've watched enough professional wrestling that part of me has this weird thought that if Iowa finds itself down let's say 10-3 in the third quarter, that Stoops is going to come out of the crowd, hit Kirk Ferentz with a folding chair in the back of the head, and then just take the headset. Oh my God, that's Bob Stoops' music. What's he doing on the sideline?
There are legitimately people in Lincoln, Nebraska that think Frank Solich might show up and do that to Scott Frost mid-game. So it's not, you're not alone.
They wish.
I pay a lot of money.
Yeah. I think up until a couple of weeks ago, they were expecting Urban Meyer to do that too. Fortunately, I don't think even the people in Lincoln harbor that fantasy anymore. And Leo, good to see you back once again, Leo Doyle. So it does game day for Iowa. For the knockout show, I don't think you'd need 3 a.m. All right, 4:30 a.m. Well, you know what? Let's even get a little bonkers and say 6 a.m. I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. I can just watch the TV show. Watching TV is fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
No, it's better on TV. Probably you see more of the campus. It's much more fun, I think.
Mm-hmm. And David brings up one more thing that I had also read, which takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of ESPN sabotaging poor Iowa. But Kirk Herbstreit, two slightly different individuals, but Kirk does have to call the OU Texas game, and typically College Game Day, is it's not expressly built around following him around, but it would be tough to. It's not impossible, but it would be tough to have him take care of those responsibilities and be in Iowa City at the same time. And it's also just not a good enough show if he's not there too. It would be off. It would be weird. So, but that being said, as long as ESPN has this weird relationship with the schools that it ostensibly covers, some might call it the appearance of a conflict of interest, but I'm no lawyer. But as long as that exists, there's always going to be griping about all of this. And, for as much as ESPN wants to deny it, it's the appearance of a conflict of interest. So they're always going to find themselves in this situation as long as they're, being found pulling strings to get certain schools to certain conferences and buy out certain contracts. Yeah. So, you're a dirty, dirty little boy, ESPN. We see you. All right, guys. Looks like our chat is starting to wind down, but it has been 75 awesome minutes of chatting with all of you in the chat, with all my fellow writers here. This is, again, pretty unprecedented. We've got the quad box going of Go Iowa Awesome's finest and handsomest writers. So with that, thank you, everybody. That was my alarm, my 9:15 alarm. But as always, it's been so great to have all of you around to spend a Wednesday evening talking number 3 Iowa football and facing its highest ranked opponent of the year for now and probably for all year. And I mean, guys, this is what we wait through all those mediocre seasons for. This is it. This is the big time waiting for the Hawkeyes, and they're ready. They are ready. And as long as, we can remember that, and we can remember to have fun and not spend time, worrying or talking ourselves out of the joy and the fun. Boy, nothing much more you can ask for than this. So we will see you all Saturday. I will be in the house at Kinnick Stadium, and I will be joining you all from Iowa City. We're still working on the details of that, but the post-game show will be Saturday night. It will be in Iowa City, and can't wait to join you all. I'm sure that we're going to have a whole lot to celebrate that evening. But until then, for Tom, for Nick, for Andrew, my name is Adam Jacobi. GoIowaAwesome.com. Thank you all for joining us. Go Iowa Awesome. Go Hawks. Good night.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.